So I had a few things on my mind today, and I've been thinking about a lot of stuff lately. The biggest thing I've been thinking about is how difficult it is to date after a toxic relationship. And if for some reason could not figure out why is this so difficult? Like what is it that I'm not getting? What is the disconnect when dating after something so toxic? For myself, as many of you know, I went through a recovery program. I didn't date for 5 years. I mean, I dated, but it was like on and off. I really healed from the abuse and trauma I endured while in that toxic relationship. So for me, it was one of those things where it's like, okay, I am great. And I've talked about this on my podcast, on my videos. I've written blogs about it, articles about it. Like, after my toxic relationship, I was like, oh, I'm ready. This is going to be great. I'm going to be perfect. I'm going to be just the exact thing that any man would be so lucky to have. I'm going to be so ready and so perfect. And it wasn't until I started actually walking through dating did I realize that there were things I didn't really recover from. Cheating was the biggest thing, the cheating and the lying. And that was something that in my relationship in particular, I didn't know was going on until after my book came out. When my book came out, Signs in the Rearview Mirror, Leaving a Toxic Relationship Behind, a little plug there. The people where I grew up called me and sent me messages and said, hey, this is what was going on. And then everything started to really add up for me. And when I found out about that, I was upset, and I didn't really say anything to my therapist at that time. I was still in recovery, and I thought, well, it happened. I didn't know about it, so it's not really going to do any damage. What's the big deal? I'm just going to move on with my life. And it wasn't until maybe a year later where I sat across from my therapist, and I was like, yeah, this happened. And he was so mad at me. He's like, what? And I'm like, yeah. I told him who we did it with, like the people and stuff like that. And he was like, man, this makes so much sense as to some of the stuff you're going through. And I didn't realize at the time that I had to heal from the cheating that I never experienced while in the relationship. So fast forward to dating, it's like, oh my gosh. And I think the biggest thing I'm realizing for me personally, the most difficult aspect is believing someone when they say something. You can have the most perfect dude or girl or whatever, and they're going to tell you, whatever it is, and you're going to question it. And heaven forbid there was a lie that happened before, and then you're just going to start looking into it more and more. So for me, the biggest disconnect is, what do I believe and how do I get past that? This is something that I never hear anyone talking about, and how difficult it can be. So for me, it's not only that, but then it's living in the South. I'm obviously from the North. So when I started to kind of date, I was more drawn to people back home because it was like they knew me. I was kind of comfortable with them. They knew my personality. They knew a lot of different things. We were kind of the same people. My ex-husband is from there. My toxic ex was from there. So these are the things that I knew. Moving to the South was a whole new ball game. I mean, they're crawling with Cowboy fans here, which is absolutely terrible. But besides that, it's hard because, and I know I've talked about this, being from the North and moving to the South, you're mainly going to date Southerners. And there's a difference with personalities, with cultures, with, everything going on, from the kinds of food that people eat versus their sports teams, that sort of thing. So when you have a person from the North coming into the South, it's a little bit different. You've got to learn about different things. I don't know anything really about the South. I've been here 17 years, but like I said, my ex-husband was from there. The majority of my friends that I have here are also from there. So I never really thought about dating different people. So now that it's like walking through this, it's scary, and I overthink a lot of things, and I'm very well healed from a lot of the stuff that happened. But for me now, the stuff, I don't believe certain things. Like, if I say something and the person I'm dating gets mad and he's like, I'm mad, I'm not talking to you for a little while. It's like, okay, wait, is he really mad? Or is he mad going to see someone else? These are the things I think of, because in the last relationship, he would cause a fight so he could leave, so he wouldn't have to come home, so he could be with the woman he cheated on me with while he was here, and all the other women as well. So now when something like that happens in this relationship, it's like, oh, wait, is he really doing this? So I have a lot of like thinking, like, okay, did what I just say really make him upset, or is he just trying to do, something else? Another big thing for me is if I show up at his house and there's something different there, it's like, oh, like, where did that come from? And it's like, you can't like ask people these things. But then at the same time, when I was in my toxic relationship, he would, there was the love triangle, and I would give him something and he would put it in the house and she would have no idea. So now I'm thinking that's happening. Like, is this a whole nother thing? So there's a lot of things that happen that you don't really know, that you have to heal from, that you have to recover from until you're walking through it. So for me, it's the lying. It's like, what's the payoff with like a lie or whatever, because he would lie constantly all the time about everything, and it was because he wanted to cheat. He wanted to go do the things that he felt like he needed to do. So in order to do those things, he would pick a fight. He would pretend to, or get like upset with me so he could be gone for a couple days. I would be like, hey, what time are you coming home? I don't need this kind of control in my life. Why are you trying to do this? Now I'm pissed off and now I'm not coming home. So now it's like, okay, some of these things that happen in like a healthy relationship, they're normal. A person can get mad and not want to talk to you for a few hours. That doesn't mean that they're going to bang someone. They can have things in their house and you don't know where it comes from. It doesn't necessarily mean it's coming from somebody on the outside who's, doing whatever. But the biggest part that I found that I have is I don't want to appear weak. I don't want to say things like, hey, these are the things that are bothering me, blah, 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 whatever, because I don't know how they'll be perceived. I don't know. I don't want to feel weak within myself, and that's something I struggle with. Also don't want to be blind, but I don't want to overthink. So it's this whole thing where it's like, man, this stuff is not easy. I heard that, they say like the first healthy relationship after something toxic is the most difficult, and they are not lying. This is difficult, and I'm a healthy person. I have my own house, my own car, I make my own money, I do my own things, I'm very independent, I can take care of myself. I'm not relying on anybody for anything but like a healthy, normal relationship. And I'm still like, oh my gosh, is this person out to get me? And I guess I'm kind of talking like this mainly for myself versus for like other people, which hopefully it helps other people. But this is kind of a lonely process because not a lot of people have gone through this and not a lot of people talk about it. I took so much time off to really heal from, a lot of things that I went through, found out for myself, like why I allowed myself to stay in something so abusive and so toxic for such a long time. So I did a lot of work on myself, but I didn't do a ton of work on the things that are affecting me presently. And now it's like, what's your answer to that? You end something with somebody and say, I've got to process how to deal with some of these things. No, you can't do that. I guess you could do that, but that would be ridiculous because you got to like walk through it in order to heal it, in order to feel it. And I think the biggest takeaway is walking through this with somebody who is understanding, who's like, okay, yeah, maybe you're going through some stuff. Let me help you out. And if you don't have that, that's difficult to do. So it's confusing. I mean, it's worth it, I think, because the good side is good, but then there's the side where it's like you can't really have someone come in and like help you pick up the pieces of something they never really broke. You kind of do it on yourself. But I'm also not one to ask for much help. So it's one of the things I was thinking of today. So for me, the biggest disconnect in a healthy relationship right now is what to believe. And that's what I'm facing. So now for me, now that I know this, I can go back and do some work on it and I can really figure out some stuff. And if I do need the help from the person, I can ask him for the help, and whether or not he wants to help me is totally up to him. But these are the things that I'm walking through currently. So if you're dating after a toxic relationship, yeah, you're going to have these moments where you're like, oh my God. But then you're also going to have those moments where like, wow, this is like so much better than anything ever before. So then it's worth it. So if you're going through this right now, congratulations on being brave enough to try again. And if you're watching this and you're scared to try again, I mean, do it. Keep watching my videos because I'll keep doing these crazy little rants about the crap I've been through because I haven't really seen anything from anybody talking about this stuff that could like comfort me, which is why I feel like such a buffoon half the time. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. Am I doing the right things? And I walk around my house and I'm just like, what do I do? I think the biggest thing is just chill, relax, and figure out where the anxiety to a degree is coming from and go from there because not everyone is the ex. Not everyone is out to get you. So it's my little rant for you.